Welcome to the Mama Mudra Podcast. I'm Kate Thompson-Duwe, and I believe that the wellness industry has a joy problem, so we're aiming to fix it. This podcast is where we bring in experts to challenge beliefs and tools to feel good, stay consistent, and build a life that works. Because in this community, joy is the new performance metric. Today we are talking about longevity. On this podcast, we talk a lot about joy not being the result that you receive at the end of a life that was well lived, and a focused life on wellness and your health and all of those good things. We talk about how joy should be the driver of a life well lived. So you should be feeling good by doing the things that you're doing to make you have a good and healthy life. But today's episode is talking about what about when that becomes too much. The wellness and longevity industries are saturated these days with solutions and tools and tactics and suggestions and every single thing under the sun that we should be doing to make us feel better. And as someone that, despite having been in marketing for many, many years, I'm still an eternal sucker for a new product or a new tactic or a new tool. And whenever I see something that someone else is doing and supposedly getting good results with, I want to try it out myself. But you reach a point that it just becomes too much, and you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, and it's starting to feel like you're doing something at your own expense rather than doing it for the right reason. So today's episode is about longevity, but with regards to, it's not about just living longer, it's about feeling good for longer. And the guest that we've got in studio today is no stranger to the podcast studio. He's Andrew Rothschild. We had him in right at the beginning of our podcast journey. And the episode that we did together was on peptides, and it actually got so much attention, and it really was kind of the start of, I think, the bug that's bitten me with regards to podcasting. So I'm super excited to have him back. He's an expert in all things longevity. He's been focused on this type of lifestyle for longer than most of us, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of good things to say. So welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. All right. So I want to ask you, as someone that's been involved in this world for a long time and knows as much as you do, in your opinion, what do you think the wellness and longevity industry is doing fundamentally wrong these days?
So I think there's so much information, and the problem with the amount of information out there at the moment is that so many people are confused, and they'll try something, and if it doesn't work, they give up too easily. And then they'll try something else, and they actually start putting themselves at risk, and they start becoming stressed out about not being able to achieve this eternal happiness that Instagram or any kind of social media promises. So I think the biggest problem is the confusing information that's out there at the moment. And also, you've got to live and you've got to be happy within yourself. It's not about being better for social media, for validation from people that actually mean nothing in your life. The whole idea of longevity and living a healthier life for a longer period of time is so that you become a good father and a good mother, and you're a healthy father and a healthy mother, so that your kids get to grow old with you, and but also that you're able to do the things that, as you get older, that you could do when you were younger, and still be happy.
And setting an example for your kids as well.
100%, yes.
So when did you, or have you always questioned the more is more approach to longevity? Because I feel like it's never been as bad as it is now, but I'm sure there's always been a saturation of information, especially, you've been involved in the bodybuilding space for a long time. There's always been like an extreme approach in terms of, there's more is more, like do more, get bigger, and with fitness and with everything. When did you start questioning that more is more approach and understanding that it's actually far more fundamentally about how you feel inside than, reaching an extreme in a certain area?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I think a lot of people go through it, both men and women. When I was a lot younger, I was very involved in the bodybuilding industry, and I competed, and I always made a decision in my life that everything that I do at and this was when I was in my 20s, I'm never going to do anything that's not sustainable. I don't want to take any shortcuts that I know that a few years down the line are going to affect my health or affect my ability to have children at that stage, or anything that's going to be detrimental long term is not longevity. It's actually shortening your happiness as you get older. And I realized at a very young age it wasn't something that I wanted to do. So that's why I never ever took steroids. I never took anything that wasn't going to be sustainable, because I looked at a lot of people that were training for shows, whether it was men or women, and they were taking stuff and looked amazing for the show, and then a few weeks afterwards it looked like they'd never trained in their lives before. So that whole yo-yo effect and just made me realize that in life you've got to do things slow and steady, as we spoke previously before about the podcast, like having a big tree. Every day you go with an axe and you chop the tree, and everyone wants that tree to fall over with the first chop, but it's not like that in real life. Every single day you've got to put in the hard work, you've got to chop that tree, and eventually that tree will fall over, and all the hard work will pay dividends. It's a journey, and you've got to realize that our whole life is a journey. It's not a destination. So we've got to go along that journey and be the best version of ourselves every single day. Because we go to bed at night and we think tomorrow we're going to wake up and everything is going to be the same. But it's not like that. It's really not like that. So we've got to appreciate family, friends, loved ones, the ability to be able to exercise, the ability to be able to do the things we do on a daily basis, because nothing is a given. It's a gift.
Yeah. I think it's also, as someone that's been far too invested in my body function in terms of physical appearance, fitness, I've always been involved in this world, but not necessarily always from a very healthy perspective. It's often been chasing, relatively unattainable goals that aren't really where my body's happy. It's just, I want to look like that, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And I think when you start equating happiness and as you said, when you wake up in the morning, waking up in the morning and kind of deciding what your day will look like based on how you look externally, you're in trouble. It's got to, until you reach a stage of understanding that the real good feeling is how you're feeling when you wake up. Do you jump out of bed? Are you full of energy? Are you feeling positive? Do you look forward to going to train? That's when your wellness is really paying off for you. And I think that's come with age and understanding that, in your 20s, you never think you're going to leave your 20s. You think you're going to be in your 20s forever and you can do whatever and nothing matters, and then you get older and, you do have kids and all these things happen. And as you say, it's about being able to still function at that same level for as long as possible without doing things that are going to compromise that.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're all human. We all go through our highs and lows, and it's part of life. I don't wake up every single morning and go, yay, Actually, I do sometimes. I'm alive. And nothing's hurting. I can't be alive. But no, the days you wake up in the morning and it's like, and then you just got to be grateful. And I've done this. I think we might have spoken about it in our last podcast. And it works not only with kids, with adults, because I've actually tried it quite recently as well with a lot of adults. And I just say every single day for 1 month, write down what you're grateful for. One sentence every single day. And at the end of that month, read it back to your husband or your kids. And it's an amazing thing. It could be, I'm grateful because I've got food on the table. I'm grateful because I've got a roof over my head. I'm grateful for the smallest thing, that I'm able to exercise, that I've got the ability to change people's lives. All those little things that you're grateful for, just try it. Write it down, one thing a day. And after 30 days, read it back, and you won't believe how fortunate you are. And it goes on that saying that be grateful for what you've got, not what you wish you had. And once you write down all those little things and you realize how lucky you actually are, it'll change your mindset.
I love that. The idea of, if your protocol is making you miserable, if your wellness protocol, your routine that you have in place, the supplements you're taking, your training, the way that you approach nutrition, the way you approach sleep, all of those things we do with the intention of feeling better. So if the protocol that you've put in place in your own life is actually making you feel worse, which I find happens if there are too many elements to it, and inevitably or invariably you're going to either forget one, or I don't know, you didn't buy whatever you needed in order to fulfill that one, and actually it's making you feel worse, because then the whole day you're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't do that. What is happening to you psychologically and physiologically if you are so inherently focused on trying to complete this protocol every day that it's actually making you feel bad? Like, unpack for us how the impact that's going to have on you getting to that wellness goal.
Okay. So that's a very good question, and it's a very common thing that happens to people. People set their goals and they go, in a month I want to lose X amount of weight, or I want to put on X amount of muscle, I want to be happier, I want to be less stressed, I want to be a different version of the person I am today in a month's time. And as they go along this journey, they actually land up beating themselves up, either because of the way they don't look a certain way, or they wake up with a pimple on their head, or the smallest little thing can change your body's ability to actually digest protein, to work properly, and you start releasing cortisol, which is a stress hormone. The more cortisol you release, the more the tougher it is for your body to actually work properly, to function properly. It causes inflammation. Inflammation leads to sickness. So it's a ripple effect. And we are, as I said, we're human, and but nobody's perfect. But you've got to go along this journey saying, my goal is to become a better version of myself. And along that way, there's going to be ups and downs. But I can't, when there are downs, I can't beat myself up about not feeling good or not being able to perform a certain way. So if you miss a meal, or you miss a supplement, or there's a lot of peptides that are out there that are incredible at decreasing inflammation, that are literally bonds of amino acids that can help you a lot along your way with reducing stress. And a lot of stress comes with not being able to sleep properly at night because you're so stressed. And in order to recover and to build lean muscle and lose body fat, you need to be sleeping properly, because if you're not sleeping properly, it's very difficult for your body to recover. So there's two modes for the body, basically, in a simple way. There's anabolic and catabolic. And catabolics when you're awake and you're working out and you're breaking muscle down. Anabolics when you're recovering and your body's rebuilding. And if you're not sleeping, you're not giving your body enough time to rebuild. And so the whole idea is to try and decrease the cortisol, or the inflammation in your body, by not beating yourself up about certain things, but realizing it's a process. And as they say, life's a journey, not a destination, and just going step by step along the road to a better you. It's
such a tricky thing to navigate. I remember having this conversation with Nina, my trainer, who obviously is part of your family, so many times in the gym, and like obsessing over 2 kilos that I wanted to lose, or I don't know, whatever it was. And she would always just be like, just relax. You know what you like. The more you hold on to it, the more you stress about it, the worse it's going to get, because you become so obsessive. And ultimately the thing you need to do the most is just relax and trust your body knows what to do and let it do its thing.
Absolutely. And even if you break it down and you look at kids and you look at them studying for maths, and there are times where they don't get surface area or algebra or whatever they're studying at that time, and they actually end up getting frustrated. When they get frustrated, they start crying, and nothing you can say can make them feel better. And all you do is you say, take 5 minutes, go outside, go run around, get some fresh air, breathe in slowly, breathe in positive energy, breathe out any negative energy. And in 5 minutes time, come sit down when you're a little bit more relaxed, and we'll go through it again. And it's amazing how your mind just starts becoming a sponge again, because as soon as you get frustrated or aggravated with yourself, there's a mechanism that just shuts everything off, and you stop learning.
Totally. You've just convinced me. I was playing with the idea of doing a breathwork podcast episode, and you've just convinced me. It's one of the most powerful tools, I believe, in wellness, and the most underestimated and underutilized tool. It's so, I've been a yogi for most of my life, so it's something that I'm very close to, but it's incredible. And I also use it with my kids, and well, I try, not always successfully, but it's incredible, the power of breathwork.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of pressure right now to optimize everything that we do. It used to be as simple as take these vitamins, eat these food groups. Now everything is optimized. Everything has to be, done to the nth degree. But what do you think? At what point does optimization cross over into just stress and, like you said, producing excess cortisol, etc.? Like how and where rather do we find the balance of just doing enough but not going overboard?
Okay, so
is there such a thing?
there is such a thing, but it's a very difficult thing to master, because it is a very, very confusing world out there. You'll open Instagram and all you'll see is peptide here, peptide there, peptide here, peptide there. And I get messages, 50, 60 messages a day, every single day, about retatrutide. What does it do?
Yeah.
I want to lose weight. I think it's going to be amazing for me.
Yeah.
BPC 157, TB 500, ipamorelin, CJC. It's such a it's very, very confusing. So the best thing to do is if you want to be the best version of yourself, firstly, you've got to find out what's wrong. It's like going into a department store and saying, what tool should I buy?
Yeah.
You walk in and you're like, well, what do you want to build? So, and that's really what you just got to break it down. So, the best thing to do is to go get your bloods taken and see where your body is lacking. So there's certain things where it might be releasing cortisol, there might be certain markers that are high, your growth hormone levels might be low. So before you just go start on this peptide journey or any kind of journey and you're unsure of how your body is actually functioning and why you're stressed, you need to go get your blood work done properly.
And sorry to interrupt, what would you ask for? What blood panels are you asking to do?
It depends on what the person wants to achieve.
Okay.
So obviously, if you're going to go on to, let's say, retatrutide, which everyone's talking about at the moment, it's an incredible GLP-1, works on 3 receptors as opposed to Ozempic, which is just 1 receptor. So basically what it does is it cuts off the hunger, but it doesn't make you lose bone density or muscle mass, and also works on glucagon, which helps your body burn fat from fuel, which is great.
Okay.
But you've obviously got to check, your liver enzymes and just to see if your body is not going to be badly affected by taking something. It's very, very important because it's not one size fits all for everybody. And then also microdosing. Take a small amount. You don't need to take, you read on the internet that people are taking 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams.
Yeah.
You need to take a small amount, which will be, make sure you go to, like I always say, go to HealthSpan because I think they're the best at what they do. And everything's prescribed by a doctor. Everything's tested by independent third party. So, you're getting quality because you don't want to put in rubbish into your body.
And there's a lot of rubbish
and
out
there's
there.
there's a lot of rubbish because everyone's jumped on the bandwagon.
Exactly.
So, are you putting a retatrutide peptide in your body, or are you putting in
exactly something
who
else?
knows?
Yeah.
You never know what you're putting in.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. So whoever you get from, make sure that's a reputable source and that you ask for those independent lab testing on the actual product. Very important. It's like going to buy protein, for example, and it's not a reputable brand, and in the protein is just literally filler.
Yeah.
So, and then also, so you've got to make sure that you are it is prescribed by doctors and that you checking out your internal organs. Yes, it gets rid of visceral fat, but also you don't want to put your body under immense strain. And it's another thing, people don't realize that when you're cutting off your hunger, you're also cutting off your thirst.
I was going to say, yeah.
So a lot of people aren't drinking water.
I've seen that appear a lot on social media recently.
And it's causing a lot of dehydration, a lot of strain on the kidneys. So you've got to be very, very careful. And just when you are going along this journey, just make sure that you're getting correct advice.
And again, it's about, trying to, and a lot of the conversations that I have are about just learning to listen to yourself. Try and stop focusing on the end goal, if that's an aesthetic goal especially. You need to actually understand that on the journey to this end goal, listen to how your body's telling you that it's feeling, because there's also the train of thought of, well, not the train of thought, but it's proven you can get yourself to that goal by depriving yourself, but you're never going to stay there, like you were saying earlier with the guys. Exactly, right. Yeah.
So So what I always do with anyone, whether they're coming in for a training program, whether they're coming in for peptides, whether they just want to chat in general about nutrition, and I'll give you a perfect example, is I always say, what do you want to achieve?
Yes.
If you don't listen to anyone else around you, when you tell yourself you want to achieve something, what do you want to achieve? Not what your wife says you must do, your husband tells you to do, what Instagram tells you to look like. What do you want to achieve and why? Like, why do you want to be a better version of yourself? And it's amazing because I met somebody recently and they were 210 kilograms, which is large. And he had been on Ozempic and had lost 40 kilograms. And Ozempic is a GLP-1 receptor peptide as well, which everyone's talking about. But the problem with Ozempic is you actually lose bone density, muscle mass. So he lost 60 kilograms, went down to, I don't know what it was, 150, and went off Ozempic and literally went back to 210 within seconds, because it cuts your hunger off while you're on it, but as soon as you start again, you blow up because your hunger's back and you eat more and your body's got this flight or fight response and it just holds on to everything. So he was saying he's desperate to lose weight, doesn't know what to do. So I said, I took him aside. I said, listen, let's go away from everyone. Why do you want to lose weight? He said, I want to be a dad one day. And I said, there's your reason. Write it out, put it on your fridge, and every time you open that fridge, read, I want to be a dad. Today he is 140 kilograms, wife's pregnant. It's an amazing story. It's a beautiful story because you don't know what people are going through. Everyone's got their trials and tribulations, but when you can make a positive difference in someone's life by changing their why, it's amazing what people can achieve and how happy they become. And now, because his wife's pregnant, after trying for years and years, he is so much more committed to losing weight and being a healthy dad because he wants to make his kids proud of him.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a cool story, actually.
It is a cool story. So, I mean, it goes nicely into the next question, that if we can manage to shift the goal, which we did speak about definitely in the last episode, and it's actually the name of the business is, as opposed to focusing on the lifespan, focus on the health span. Don't just focus on living longer, focus on feeling good for longer. I use the analogy of I'm determined to live over 100, and I know that I'm going to be playing with my grandkids and, embarrassing them by doing cartwheels and handstands around the garden way after the age that I should. But I don't want to do it unless I'm doing cartwheels and handstands. I don't want to just be sitting there infirm, unable to move, just alive. I want to do it and still be living well. So if we manage to shift someone's focus from not just living longer, but feeling good for longer, what will that change in their approach to their wellness, in your experience?
So once again, it's about sustainability. And I always say to people, start now. Don't wait.
Yes.
You've got to start now. Don't say, I'll start when I'm 50 or I'll start when I'm 60. And it's consistency. So you look at the people that are in our age group now that have trained since they were teenagers and have kept it up consistently. And they're the ones that are in really good shape, are really committed to living for a longer period of time and being able to do what they started doing when they were 15, now that they're able to do when they're in their 50s. And that's the nice thing about it, with life. Everything unfortunately does come to an end. It really, it's an unfortunate thing, and we always think we're invincible when we're in our 15, when we're in our teen years, and as we get older,
I think I'm invincible now.
things change. But if you've kept up a constant program of nutrition, health, wellness, like I look back on pictures and I think I feel better than I did when I was younger.
Me too.
I feel a lot wiser than I did when I was younger, and I feel that I've got a lot more discipline now that I'm older than I did when I was younger. So I think everything you do with consistency and sustainability is going to lead you to have a long lifestyle with a long life period, I should say, and be healthy and well, because you realize how lucky you are. Once you realize the gratefulness of being able to move and exercise, and if you want to get on a treadmill, go for a run, or if you want to go for a walk, or whatever it is, once you become grateful at your age about what you can do, and you make the decision in your life that that's what you want to do for the rest of your life and be in that position and not be in a compromised state as you get older, that'll change your mindset, and that's how you'll start living a longer lifestyle, but also
happier,
a longer life period, but a happier lifestyle.
Yes. I've had those moments many times with injuries and surgeries, and I always have like a conscious moment that I stop and I say to myself, I'm like, you know what, remember this right now, that you would give anything to go for a run or to go down to the gym or to go to yoga, and you can't because you're either post-op or you're injured or whatever it is. And then when you do get your health back, you're like, this feels so good. So it's just that you've got to be grateful.
And I deal with a lot of sportsmen all the time, and a lot of them are young and get injured, might tear an ACL or an MCL or have a bad injury playing rugby, whatever it is, and they go from a very positive mindset to a very negative mindset very quickly. It's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get into the side again? There's so much depth. I mean, how am I going to recover? Am I going to be able to recover? Is my knee going to be as strong as it was before I tore it? So, it happens a lot at a young age. And there's always that saying, the comeback is better than the setback. And it really is. But you've got to believe. And everything's a process. Women fall pregnant. They have a baby. They're pregnant for 9 months of their lives. And guys are moaning about a 6-week recovery on an ankle. So it's all relative.
That's true.
So, you've just got to be positive. You've got to focus on You got to focus on the end goal. And if your end goal and your hunger is to be the best version of yourself, then you will be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
But you cannot let any doubt get into your mind, because as soon as you start doubting yourself, that's when your body releases cortisol. That's when you release stress, and you fall into a very, very horrible tunnel.
Yeah. What are the non-negotiables? So for someone starting out on a longevity journey and, they really know the basics, but they also know how much there is out there in terms of options. I think there are too many people these days that are just going straight to the biohacking extreme because they think, let me go on Ozempic, I don't then need to train, I don't, all of these things, which obviously is the worst pathway to wellness. So where would you say, I know you mentioned blood works earlier, but for someone wanting to start on a wellness journey or already on their wellness journey but feeling too cluttered, what are the absolute non-negotiables that one needs to focus on? I mean, sleep, diet, training, before anything else, what are the most important things?
So with any of the peptides or whatever you take, if you don't follow a healthy lifestyle of training and nutrition, they are not going to work long term. That's just the reality. So non-negotiables, I always say, nutrition 70%, training 20%, and then genetics 10%. So, and for me, the most important thing is consistency. It's not like I'm going to train for 6 weeks to get ready for my wedding, and then after you get married, you go, okay, cool. So it's what we touched on earlier. It's what's your why? Why do you want to change? What is the reason you want to live a long life and a healthy life and be able to perform when you're older, like you did when you were younger? You've got to have a reason. And that reason is why you should be consistent throughout that period of your life with training and nutrition. I mean, nobody's perfect. There are days when, even if you're on the strictest of diets, we live once. If you want to have a pizza or a chocolate brownie, it's not the end of the world. Just get back on track tomorrow. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up about it. In fact, normally what happens when you do have a cheat day or a cheat meal, you're actually even more hungry to train harder.
Yeah.
So definitely training, nutrition. The biohacking stuff's amazing. I think it's unbelievable, but it is a confusing world out there. And if you're just starting the journey and you think that I haven't trained in like 20 years, I never want to see a gym in my life again, I'm just going to go pump myself full of retatrutide.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Well, it might work, but it's not going to last.
Not going to live.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that leads beautifully into the next question, because understanding what the fundamentals are, and also understanding if you're someone like you and me and most people that have an interest in wellness that are certainly intrigued by all the biohacking tools that there are out there, it's impossible to ignore them. Where would you suggest, again, for someone that maybe doesn't know as much about wellness, where would you suggest they fit those in? If you've got your 70% focus on nutrition, you've got your 20% focus on training, and, you obviously have a limited capacity for that stuff and you don't want it to become too much of a focus, where would you fit that in? Would you rather just say, allow a professional to advise you on that, or would you suggest that they do start somewhere when they're starting on their wellness journey, introduce the peptides and stuff, or rather wait until they get their sort of foundational stuff in place first?
So I think we must just go back a step, to what is a peptide? A peptide is a bond of amino acids, less than 40. We're born with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them. As we get older, they start to diminish, or we get injured, they start to diminish. So all you're doing by taking a peptide is getting your body to function like it did prior to injury or when you were younger. So if, for example, you're taking an ipamorelin before you go to bed at night, which is a growth hormone peptide, it's getting you to sleep better, recover better, as if you were in your 20s when your growth hormone levels were high. It's not growth hormone that's playing with your insulin levels where your cells just reproduce and don't ever stop. It works within your body's capabilities. So if my growth hormone levels were 100 when I was 20 and your growth hormone levels were 200 when you were 20, I'm never going to get to 200. I'm going to get close to 100, and then they'll help me sleep better, release my, obviously, decrease cortisol, I'll recover better. Biohacking is helping your body to recover and get rid of toxins, and that's really what you want to do. So if you look at ozone therapy, for example, you sit in an ozone chamber for 30 minutes, it gets hot, your body releases the toxins, and you're sitting on a white tile, and it's unbelievable the toxins that come out of your body, because we live in a toxic world. We're breathing in fumes, there's who knows what's in food, and microplastics, and it's another thing with peptides is you don't want to be injecting plastics into your body. So that's why it's got to be a reputable company, because you don't want to be toxic. And also, you want with any kind of inflammation in your body, and ozone decreases inflammation, inflammation causes cancers, causes a whole lot of different diseases. So you want to decrease as much inflammation as possible. So if you're following a good training program, a good nutrition program, your body doesn't feel inflamed, stick with it. And as you get to a situation where you feel like you need a little bit of help on the biohacking side, go speak to a professional in biohacking, and they'll guide you on a journey. But you don't have to do everything all at once. It's a slow process.
I think it's the options are endless. So it's I like what you said earlier about just coming back to your why, as opposed to kind of getting distracted by every single thing just because it's going to make your skin look good or give you more energy or whatever. When you have an excess of time and money and whatever, and you want to go and try that out, by all means, but unless it ladders up to your why, don't make it a focal part of your routine, because otherwise I think it just leads to that sort of wellness burnout, which isn't going to be sustainable either.
Absolutely.
So where would you say, I know we've said nutrition, training, etc., but to make someone feel that they're starting on a longevity, not just wellness journey, a longevity journey, assuming they've got the basics in place already and they really want to start feeling good quickly. I know I asked you this question at the end of our last episode about peptides specifically, but now talking about everything, where would you suggest that they start for a quick sort of return in terms of, wow, I really can feel that I've started something and I'm noticing the difference immediately, if it's kind of their intro to a longevity pathway.
So once again, everybody's different, but going on a general basis, I think our cells in our body need to be working efficiently again. And as we get older, our mitochondria decrease. So in order to get those mitochondria functioning again and working again, I think something like NAD Plus is incredible. You can either do it as an intravenous drip, which is remarkable at increasing the neuroplasticity to the brain, your focus, your energy levels, because it allows your mitochondria to start reproducing again, and that's powers it. It works on a cellular level, so it's powering the energy in our body. So as soon as you feel more invigorated, more alive, you actually start to perform better. So in that you'll feel quite quickly. So I would say definitely NAD Plus is just incredible. With glutathione, those two together as an IV for a quick little, hang on a second, I'm actually alive again. I can do what I used to be able to do, because that's, if in your mind you're feeling tired and fatigued, you start thinking, I passed my sell-by date. I can't do what I used to be able to do.
Totally.
And so powering up the energy stores in your body would be the first option. And then there's a whole range of peptides that are so good for just MOTS-C, epithalon, just good for increasing energy and youthfulness, and GHKCU, which is a copper peptide, which I love. I think it's the most amazing peptide ever. I mean, I've shaved my head every second day for 30 years, and I take GHKCU and I have to shave in the morning, and it's so inconvenient, and morning and the night. It's very inconvenient, but it's amazing how because it decreases inflammation on the hair follicle. Brilliant for rebuilding collagen, brilliant for your skin, your elasticity of the skin. So I think that's an amazing peptide. But it's confusing, it's overwhelming. So I think you've got to see what your why is and what you want to achieve personally. And your goals might change in 6 months' time, but do one thing at a time.
And if I can give anyone listening any advice, is also set a budget, because my word, the peptide world can take all of your budget very quickly. When I started, I swear I was like, I'm only going to do this and this, and then all of a sudden you realize how much there is out there and how amazing you feel. And it's like, I mean, at one stage I think I was taking sort of 6 or 7 at the same time, and obviously various days and various times and everything. But there's a peptide for everything, and you feel like a 20-year-old version of yourself. It's phenomenal.
As I said, it's very confusing. There's a hell of a lot of peptides out there. But that's why you can streamline it. You can streamline it according to what you want to achieve. You don't need to take 6 peptides or 10 peptides or 12 peptides or just do everything, or just because the more you take, it doesn't mean you're going to get results faster.
No. And also you cycle. A lot of them you cycle, you do like sort of once a year or twice a year.
Absolutely. And a lot of them you do, 8 to 12 weeks, go off them because you don't want your body to get used to it.
Exactly.
And like a BPC 157 and TB 500 is incredible for gut. Any kind of woman, premenopausal, postmenopausal, it's unbelievable for the gut. For joint injuries, any kind of knee, shoulders, any kind of injury, tennis elbow, it's unbelievable for tennis elbow, paddle elbow.
Amazing.
BPC and TB is it's remarkable. It's not expensive, but you don't need to go into every single peptide that's on the market to heal one specific thing.
Yeah.
And once it's healed, then you go off it. It's not a cortisone, so it's not numbing the pain where you're actually doing more damage long term because it's healing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I think that the primary message from this conversation is really, and I hope what people are taking out of it, is that longevity isn't something that we need to suffer in order to achieve. And again, much like I talk about joy not being rather the reward at the end of a hard journey, it's something that we should be experiencing and feeling while we're doing it. So the wellness that we're talking about and the lifespan, the health span that we want people to feel, not just at the end of their lifespan, is something that you should be feeling now, because this is now that we're living. So the goal really is to make sure that the years that you're adding to your life are good years, they're fit years, they're strong years, they're happy years, and you're enjoying those years. So if you're sitting at home listening to this and questioning whether your longevity protocol is making you feel good or is it making you feel overwhelmed and stressed, maybe it's a signal to just stop and take a pause, take a breath, and remember your why and remember what it is that you want to achieve, and then tailor everything according to that why, and make sure that you are achieving that goal now and you're not just waiting to achieve it in 20 years' time, because by that stage you've lost those 20 years of feeling good and you could be feeling amazing right now. So I really hope that this episode shifted thinking and opened eyes to what's out there, because there is so much out there and there really is no reason to not feel like the best version of yourself today. And thank you very much to Andrew for being here.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
Of course, I will. And if you like the episode, tell everyone about it, subscribe, share it, etc. And thank you for listening. If this episode shifted something with you, share it with someone who needs it. Because the wellness industry doesn't change from the top down. It changes through conversations like these. So subscribe, and stay close. We're not chasing wellness anymore. We're redefining it through joy. See you next week.